Okay, so today we are going to talk about our fight to open the new public broadcasting channel in Israel. It has been a long fight, and I will start by saying that the first thing some leaders do when they take power is to try to control the media. And they try to control the media in order to tell their own story and in order to control the narrative. And that was what happened to us. I mean, we were fighting to open a public channel for over 10 years, especially in Parliament. We got a nice law that was passed in Parliament, and the future looked bright. And then our Prime Minister Netanyahu, overnight, I should say, declared that this shall not be, and the public channel will not open. And this is when we decided we must act. And
okay, the first channel in Israel used to be a government-controlled channel. We believed that the only way we can do our great storytelling is not doing it for the commercial channels. We have a very small country, and we have a language that only about 6 million people in our country speak. And the only way that we can do the things that we really want to write, it has to be in a public-funded channel with no government control. And the minute he wanted to take control over it, we said, no way.
So before we continue, there's a short video we want to show you.
ההחלטה להקים את השידור הציבורי התקבלה בממשלה הקודמת, היא לא התקבלה בממשלה הזאת, ואני הייתי ראש הממשלה, ואני אומר לכם, אני נושא באחריות, החלטה שגויה.
ראש הממשלה רוצה לשלוט בתקשורת כדי לספר את הסיפור שלו.
תחזור בך! תחזיר את השידור לציבור.
הסיפור שלו הוא אמת? הסיפור שלו הוא שקר? מי יחליט אם לא יהיה כאן שידור ציבורי?
האינטגריטי שלך עומד כאן למבחן. תאגיד השידור הציבורי קורא לך כחלון. אל תפתיע אותנו.
אני קובע. ככל שההתנגדות לפתיחת שוק התקשורת לתחרות גדולה יותר, כך אני מבין שאני עושה את הדבר הנכון.
זה כסף ציבורי, זה כסף שצריך לצאת החוצה.
ואנחנו לא נוותר על גרוש מתוך ה-140.
אז יש לי פה את תעודת השחרור של הבן שלי, שהשתחרר לפני שנה. כתוב פה אות מערכה צוק איתן.
לא, אני לא אצא, אתה לא תוציא אותי. אתה לא תוציא אותי.
בנימין נתניהו חתם על זה, עכשיו הוא רוצה לשחק בנו ולהחליף את החוק. זאת עבריינות לשמה.
מאות התאספו כאן מול קריית הממשלה שבתל אביב, מפגינים נגד הפגיעה בחופש העיתונות.
זה עניין של כולם, לא רק של היוצרים, זה עניין של כל האזרחים במדינה.
אני פותח בשביתת רעב.
היום השני, היום השלישי שלי של שביתת הרעב, יום השישי של שביתת הרעב שלי.
לא מפחדים! לא מפחדים!
אנחנו לא נשתוק, אנחנו לא נלך מפה עד שאנחנו נדע שהיצירה המקורית תמשיך להתקיים.
לא לגרור עלינו! לא לגרור עלינו!
באופוזיציה מבטיחים פיליבסטר.
האם לדעתך ראש הממשלה מנסה להשתלט על השידור הציבורי?
בכל מקרה, לא ניתן להשחית כספי ציבור לריק.
השידור לציבור! השידור לציבור! לא מפחדים! לא מפחדים! לא מפחדים! לא מפחדים!
אנחנו כאן, ואנחנו יוצאים לדרך, נעשה כמיטב יכולתנו כדי להצליח, כדי להיות שידור ציבורי ראוי. אנחנו זוכרים למה אנחנו פה, בשבילכם, בשביל הציבור, וכך נשתדל לעשות את עבודתנו.
Okay, hello again. We will try to share with you a little bit from our experience and how we pull this off. And the first question to Amit is, weren't you afraid to go against the Prime Minister?
Well, as you see, what we chant is we are not afraid. And I was not afraid at all because I'm a screenwriter and I know that the bigger the antagonist is, the more fun it's going to be fighting him.
And how did we organize the fight? Like, what tools were we employing?
When you see our antagonist, the first thing that you have to see is where his weak spots are, where he's vulnerable. What are you going to say, how are you going to control the narrative? You have to take control of the narrative because he's coming out saying one thing and you have to say the other thing. So what we usually do, if he says, I'm doing this for you, I'm doing this for the people, we know that Netanyahu is vulnerable when you call him corrupted, okay? Because he has a lot of issues with corruptions. So we say, this is corrupted. This man, actually, what he wants to do is bring this back to government control and make this his own personal channel. He's trying to steal your money, the people. We talk to the people. He's going to take 850 million shekels to have his own television channel. So we know he's vulnerable there. We call him corrupted, and we become very biblical about it. We say, thou shalt not steal, okay? The other thing we'll do is make it a union issue, because if you're going to take the money, we are not going to get the money, so it's a workers' issue. This is the way we pull our people in. We say, you're not going to get your money. He wants to control it. We want it to be ours. Let's go out there and fight.
And what happened next is the politicians in Israel, Netanyahu, the Ministry of Culture, mainly both of them, some others too, were trying to portray us as leftist traitors, no less.
That's the minute I pull out where I was born. I was born on a farm up north. I immediately say that I was an officer in the army, so I can't be painted as one of these artists who sits in cafes all days and didn't do anything. And we make it blue collar. I tried to become when I'm acting this out, a worker's hero, איך קוראים לזה?
Working class hero.
A working class hero.
You see,
Okay.
he has the outfit.
Yeah. I don't do this with a suit on me. I do it with workers. I pick my clothes and my shoes very carefully before I go out into the streets.
So we're trying to create images, and we're trying to create icons for the media, because we need the media attention. We need to feed the media with our narrative. We have to take control over the narrative. And that was our goal to begin with, because we are small. And the skills that we have are the skills of storytelling, and and we have a lot of friends in the media that can help us out. So how did we do that?
You have to make the media interested. When you send them very eloquent letters that you've been sending everybody, they call you back and they say, Amit, this is no news. When we go out there and we act, they look for us. And that's the time I say, I'm not going to give it to you, I'm not going to give it to you, I'm going to give it to the first channel because I want to get on television today. So if you want to get the media, you have to make them come to you. And that's the only way you can do it, by doing crazy stuff.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about our action. Let's talk about the theater, actually, we were organizing in order to have those actions be unique and in order to make the media interested in what we do, because, you know, there's so much news and this is not the most important thing.
We have two different types of theater. We have a street theater, like you saw. We come out to the streets. We use our talents because we can write great slogans. People will take the microphone and start chanting like great stuff. And it's street theater, and street theater is all about what you saw. We use flames, we use megaphones. We're out there becoming very loud and rowdy. And the next arena is the Parliament.
We call it the circus.
It's a circus, okay? When I went in there, I said, listen, guys, this is a circus. We're working in a circus. It's round, so let's make it a circus, and I'm going to be the buffoon, okay? I'm the buffoon. Lior Tamam, our CEO, is a lawyer. So when we plan the stuff, I go for the crazy stuff, but he's got the law, he rewrote the law. And then he says, listen, this guy's nuts, so here, this is the law that we want passed, okay? And if you want him to calm down, maybe you should do this, okay?
So amazingly, what happened is that the media really liked all those performances. So every time Amit would go to Parliament, we would get a lot of coverage, especially when he tore down his son's release paper from the army, which in a way was iconic because it refers to the Vietnam draft and all that, and it strung some bell in the heads of the people who decide what should be on in the media, and it was viral, it went everywhere, it hit the 8 o'clock news, and we don't go on really to go into details what his son really did in the army because nobody really cared about it.
My son wasn't a warrior, he didn't do anything. He was discharged early, but he came back into the army, but he had written on the card that he was in the army during the Tzuketan, whatever. So what I did, and this is something, the army in Israel is like really, you know what it's there. So I took this, actually I picked it out, it was in the morning. I walked into his room, he was asleep. So I just took it off his table, okay? I planned it that same morning. And before I tore it down, I said, Bibi Netanyahu is not the only one who knows how to do gimmicks. I knew it was a gimmick, and I knew I was going to be attacked for doing a gimmick. I know how to do gimmicks as well. Boom, bam. And what I said was, and why I did it, you have to catch them when they're on their weak spots and they say stupid stuff. Politicians say a lot of stupid stuff. And what he said was that the first channel slipped through his fingers because he went to war. And I said, this is absurd. How can you say that when you sent soldiers to die? that what slipped through your fingers was the first channel, at the same time, people were burying the children. So that's changing the narrative, but that's the narrative as far as I'm concerned.
So besides those acts that were really aimed towards the media...
Sorry, I just want to say one thing. When I walked out of the circus, I was attacked by like 10 different media people, including Reuters, okay? Which I knew that this thing is going to be wider than Israel. It's going to go outside of Israel, besides the fact that we used the IWGA to take it outside of the country.
But besides those events in Parliament and on the street and getting the media and the news that put a lot of pressure on Netanyahu, who is very sensitive to his public image, we also acted directly in Parliament. We were trying to find the weaker link in the coalition. Now, I tell you one thing which is quite amazing. Netanyahu, when he established the coalition, he took the Ministry of Communication to himself. And everybody in the coalition had to sign one clause in the deal that they can never break, which went that everybody has to agree with every action Netanyahu every decision every law Netanyahu wants to pass that is concerning communication. So we were looking for cracks in the coalition, and we discovered that the Minister of Treasury had the right of veto on any laws. One, it's over budgeting. One, it's
if it costs too much money. If going back if leaving public television and going back to government-controlled television will cost more, he's the only one that's got the veto power, and we knew it's going to cost a lot more.
And also, he was running on a social ticket.
He left. He used to be on the Likud party. He left the Likud party. He got 10 mandates, and then he came back into government to be the Minister of the Treasury. And he's the only one that's got a veto power.
Right, and also his public image has a lot to do with taking care of the weaker parts of society, of getting housing, and...
That's his ticket.
That was his ticket, and we were portraying ourselves as those working class people that are going to be deprived of a chance to go to the grocer and pay for our food. But also we decided we need to target him in order to have him exercise his veto power. So how did we do that?
The night before, I was watching the news, and he came on news because there was a strike for 250 workers up north in a factory that was going to be closed down. And I was waiting for my team to come into my writing room, and I had a bit of time, so I have his phone number. Like you saw, we send him the text messages, and I text messaged him, and I said, I saw you last night. It was very touching to see you talk about 250 people. We're 4,500 people, working class people, who don't have any social rights. How can you leave us like this? Be ashamed of yourself. You must act. It's shameful the way you're acting when you're not reacting to us trying to talk to you. Because we tried talking to him, and I closed my phone, and we started the meeting, and I got a phone call from a number I don't know, and I picked up the phone, and I said, hello, and he said, hello? Amit Lior? I said, yes. He said, why are you so angry? And I said, who is this? He says, it's the Minister of the Treasury, Moshe Kachlon. And you know what I did? I was amazed. I said, Kachlon! I've been trying to get you for weeks. Okay? And we shot this, actually. I had this conversation with him, And I said, listen, he's trying to steal our money. You can't let him do it. And you've got the veto power. You're the only one that can do the right thing. You have to do the right thing. From that moment on, we became friends, okay? I'd call him up, he'd answer. I'd text him, he'd answer.
Now, we know politicians, some of them really want to do the right thing, but it's not really easy because there are lots of interests and etc. And we knew, I mean, we were lucky because Kahlon at that time was really pissed off with Netanyahu because Netanyahu kept stealing all his credits. Like he would have some achievement, you know, in Putin taking the prices of houses down, and Netanyahu would say, I did it.
He'd have a מסיבת עיתונאים.
Okay.
לא, תגידי, זה, אני לא זוכר את זה.
No, and Netanyahu had...
Netanyahu would have, before Kahlon can come on television and said he'd do this, Netanyahu would do it 2 hours before in a press conference, okay? So we knew there's this ego stuff between them, and they're in friction at this very moment that we are in our fight. So there's a tzedek, there's a crack. There's a crack
through
there
which we can
that
go
we
in.
have to try and get through that crack.
A lot of army tactics.
Yes, I was in the army. Yeah, it's one of the things that we plan our things out, like going out to any. We write a script before we do this. We write a script as if we were writing an army...
A war movie.
A war movie. Okay.
Well, I think we should address the issue, the reason why Caroline wanted us to talk here in the first place, which is the famous hunger strike. What was that all about?
I go for icons, okay? And a hunger strike is a very big icon. And what you saw me, I stood in Parliament and I said, I'm going to go on a hunger strike. Now, one of our laws is you say what you mean and you do what you say.
The laws of the union.
The laws of the unions, okay? You say what you mean and you do it because you mean it, okay? I said I'm going on a hunger strike because on, let's say, next Tuesday, they're going to do something that will pass the law. But then they postponed the thing in Parliament for 2 weeks. So everybody in our union of unions, we're 4,500 people together, said you're not going to go on a hunger strike because it's 2 weeks. What, are you going to go on a strike for 2 weeks now and that? You're not going to hunger strike. I said, listen, guys, I said I'm going to do it. I have to do it. I can't become a chump. And on that morning, there's this radio channel with these two very funky guys that call you up and surprise you. So they called me up and surprised me. And they said, Amit, good morning. Are you going to go on a hunger strike? And I said, listen, you know, they postponed the thing for 2 weeks and this and that. And they said, oh, man, okay, these are your, you're making up stories now. I said, you know what? You're right. I'm going on a hunger strike. And I closed the phone. And then I came back to Mama, and I said, I'm doing the hunger strike. They said, we don't want you to do them. And I said, you've got a problem. It's my body, and I'm going to do what I want with my body.
On that week, I was in New York, and I was starting getting phone calls from people from all the different unions telling me, Liora, Amit has lost it. You must do something about it. You must stop him. You must talk to him. And I was saying, well, come on, you know, nobody can talk to Amit when Amit decides to do something. I mean, that will never work. And let's hope this is going to come out better than you're afraid. So how did it work, really?
Okay, first of all, Liora is my partner in the union. We've written together for a long time, and she's practically like... We have this thing that she supposedly can calm me down. So she thinks that nothing seeps in, but something seeps in, even when I'm in my wild state. How did this happen? How does it work? What's a hunger strike like? Okay, I had to know how to hunger strike, and I got in touch. No, somebody gave me a connection to Dr. Leonid Edelman, who's the head of the Doctors Union in Israel, who took care of me like a guardian angel all through the hunger strike. And if I didn't call him one day, he'd call me immediately at night to see how I'm doing. So I wasn't actually doing this like a madman. And he told me there's two different schools of hunger strikes. One of them is the long hunger strike, and then you have to hit the 21-day target, which is Gandhi. Okay, it's a 21-day. And the other one is a short hunger strike, and what happens is you will get hospitalized, okay? And the difference is what you put in the water. If you put minerals in your water, you're going to be able to pull it for 21 days. If you don't put mineral in the water, within 10 or 12 days, you'll start cramping up. Which one do you think you're going to do? I said, I think I'll do the short one. He said, why? Because I said, I'm going to be able to talk and get listened to a lot better if there's an artist in the hospital because he went on a hunger strike. And I knew that because I'm an actor, the minute I decide to stop it, I'll just fall down and do this. So I don't really have to get even to the 12th day. I have to act as if I'm cramping up.
So not all guilds have actors as their chairperson. What can we tell our friends here that they can follow?
Basically, first of all, you have to understand who you're working with, who your family is, okay? In Israel, we're only 500, 550 writers, but we linked up with another 4,000 people, and then we've become 4,500. What you can do you can do things with 2 people. They want us to stop. I believe that if this group understands what the power that we have in our hands when we use the IWGA, it made Netanyahu very, very, very uptight. They got letters back. All you guys got letters back. So actually, we're a family. Every time we come to these meetings, I say to Leo, I feel like I came into my family. These are people with the same ideals. They want the same things, and they're fighting the same things. So actually, if we understand, we're a familia. We're a mafia family of 100,000 great writers who've got the power of the pen, who know how to use the camera, and if we unite, if we decide, this group decides to take on one villain a year, one villain. If it's somebody who's a money man, you hit their pockets. You go for the pocket because all they care about is money. If it's Parliament, you make it an issue of freedom of speech, and if somebody in your country has a problem with freedom of speech like we had, we made him say to him, the world is calling you not to be a dictator. So if we understand that branching, we're a union of unions of 4,500 people. We're a union of unions of over 100,000 people, great people from North America, from Europe. We have, I think, to link on to other people, and I think we can make miracles happen.